Coming up tonight on Broncos Weekend, we'll discuss what this team needs to do to snap their 3-game losing streak and get back on track with just 2 games before their bye week. Broncos Weekend starts right now.
It's always emotional. After the game, I try to answer, the questions as best as I can. But it's hard to get up with raw emotion and to be able to, articulate. I know I talked about how big, that game was going to be for us, and so to get up there after, an overtime loss was pretty tough. But it's the 24-hour rule. That's out the window. We're focused on the Jets, getting a huge win at home. And this is, the biggest game of the year for us.
The biggest game of the year for the Denver Broncos. That is what Justin Simmons is calling this Sunday afternoon showdown with the New York Jets. And I think most in Broncos country would agree, as this team has now dropped 3 straight, including back-to-back games and overtime. To my left, the Hall of Famer Steve Atwater and former Broncos offensive lineman Orlando Franklin are here to discuss the most glaring issues for this team right now and what they need to do to get a much-needed win over a very good Jets team. Guys, before we go behind enemy lines, first, let's start with this Broncos offense. We saw a glimpse into what they could and should look like in that first quarter against the Chargers, but they weren't able to do it consistently. So what do you guys attribute to that Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde performance at SoFi?
Well, in the first half, what we saw Russell Wilson do was he was dispersing the ball to it didn't matter who. Yeah. The running back room, tight end room, wide receiver room, it was to the open guys. And that's what really kept this defense on their heels for the Chargers. With the success that we've seen Russell Wilson have this year, that's what he's been doing. Where it hasn't been drawn up for a specific room or, hey, we want to utilize or feature wide receivers. It's been all about the whole entire team offensively. So you have to continue to do that in the second half. That was the big kind of drop-off where I saw with the Broncos this past Monday night, where in the second half, it wasn't about, here's the play to the receiver, the next play is going to the tight end, and okay, we got the running back coming out the backfield. It was more, hey, we got to get the ball to the wide receivers in the second half.
Yeah. Well, I felt like there's a plethora of things that it could be, and I don't know if you could just really put your finger on one thing, but I'm going to put my finger on one thing. I'm going to say those daggone penalties, they keep biting us week in, week out. Right now, we're the most penalized team in the NFL. On the offensive side of the ball, we have 12 false starts, 8 offensive holding penalties, and 4 delay of game penalties, and that's way too many penalties. And obviously, we had the pass interference calls this past game that hurt us, but we got to get the penalties under control, and hopefully that will help some of the other areas, because I don't know if the focus isn't there or what, but we got to eliminate that.
I also believe that what we have to do offensively is pick an identity and stick with it. Let this offensive line go out there and eat. Run the ball 3 straight times. Who the heck cares, right? Run it down their throat. Let them know that you're going to do it. Let this offensive line be nasty, where it's now, hey, we're just bigger and stronger than you. Let them create some type of identity where we could really rely on it when the game does get closer as well.
Is this the week for that?
Yes, especially against the physicality that this Jets defensive line, Robert Saleh, it's all about penetration. These guys don't care about anything but ejecting offensive linemen. That's all. It's not reading keys like traditional defenses. The defensive tackles, defensive ends, it's all about take that person in front of you, put them 3 yards in the backfield. So let this offensive line match that physicality this week and go forward and pound the football.
Yeah, we will get to the Jets defensive line here in just a little bit. But first, this Denver defense. This group is elite. Ejiro Evero, we know that he has spent some time under some of the best defensive play calling minds. Dom Capers, Vic Fangio, Wade Phillips. Like, how much does this defense that you're seeing remind you of the Wade Phillips defense that you played under?
I think it reminds me of it quite a bit, actually. First off, just the way that Wade coached the defense. He made it really simple to learn. He made it to where guys weren't thinking. And he also stressed physicality. And I think that Coach Ejiro Evero is doing that exact same thing. We see those same things here. The guys have picked up this defense, I would say, rather quickly. Although it was similar to the previous defense, the Coach Fangio defense, they still had to come in, learn new terminology and all that. I think they've done a good job of that, so I think he simplified the defense. The guys are flying around. They have a mentality of trying to create turnovers. They've created several turnovers already on the defensive side. We haven't gotten all of them, but they've created them, and I think if we continue to do that, we'll get some of them. And again, it just looked like the guys are having a good time out there. And so, yeah, it does remind me of Wade Phillips' defense.
I'm not even going to try to pretend like I'm an expert on defense. I'm going to let my boy Steve do that. But I will tell you this. What I've been the most impressed with each and every week is the fact that when you get into those 3rd and longs, those 3rd and 6+, there's nothing worse for an offensive lineman than when you break the huddle on 3rd down, all of a sudden, oh my goodness, there's a whole new defensive line out there. Yeah. There's new linebackers out there. These guys are fresh, and you know that you're tired because you've been out there for plenty of other plays before that. But what I really love is how he's deploying those resources, where you could see a guy like Baron Brown and line at the right outside linebacker position, but the next play be at the left outside linebacker position. And now it's 3rd and 6. He might be on the interior of the field at the middle linebacker position, where it's just like, what are we doing here? That creates issues offensively in the protection game. So I love how he's deploying his resources right now.
Well, this week, Ivero is preparing his group to shut down Mike LaFleur's offense, one that he is very familiar with. This is what he had to say about it when he met with the media on Thursday.
It's very similar to what you see from, San Fran, from Green Bay, from our offense, and a lot of similar concepts. At the end of the day, all these teams want to run the ball, and they have a variety of creative schemes to get it done, and so we got to be ready for the run game.
Well, we will dive even deeper into the Jets running game here in just a little bit. But first, it's year 2 for Coach Saleh, Mike LaFleur. So what have you guys seen as the biggest change from 2021 to 2022 for this team?
This offense is hard. The Broncos are running the exact same offense, right?
Yeah.
And year 1 with the Jets, they struggled. And now you're seeing it kind of get going. But this whole system works within itself, right? You want to have this type of offense with a strong running game. But by the way, you got to play strong defense. You did it a long time ago. That's why you got that beautiful ring on there. It all works together. So I look at what LaFleur did last year out there with Zach Wilson, and it was kind of getting your feet wet. It takes some time to really be gelling fully with this offense. And that's what we're seeing the struggles right now with the Broncos offense.
Yeah, I see that offensive side of the ball. They have the run game going. They focus on getting the run game going in order to make the pass game work. And unfortunately, their pass game hasn't been as good as I'm sure they would have liked it to be. But I think Zach Wilson, once he continues to get a great grasp of the offense, they'll be more successful in that end. And then, man, that defensive line, they have found their place. Quentin Williams, Sheldon Rankin, they are making plays all over the field, and it makes everyone else's job on defense just that much easier.
Steve brings up a great point, right? Because I never got an opportunity to play in this offense. I've always loved the Shanahan wide zone system. And because as an offensive lineman, whether it's run or pass, a lot of the things that you do are the exact same thing, right? So this was a dream offense for me to play in. When you look at Robert Saleh and what he's been able to accomplish out there with the 49ers and now what he's implementing out there with the Jets, for a defensive lineman, it's the dream scheme as well, because all you have to do is get upfield. Get upfield. That's all it's focused on, is just penetration initially.
Coming up after the break, these guys will look at the film and break down one key play from Denver's loss to the Chargers and the Jets' Week 6 win over the Packers. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Broncos Weekend. I'm Alexis Perry, happy to have Steve Atwater and Orlando Franklin here to dissect a couple of clutch plays from the Broncos and Jets Week 6 matchup. So let's start with this Russell Wilson to Jerry Jeudy connection for a 37-yard gain that set up the Greg Dulcich touchdown late in the first quarter. I think it's safe to say, Steve, this is what we like to see here in Broncos.
Yeah, we definitely like to see the big plays, and it was great to see Greg Dulcich, first off, get a nice chip on Khalil Mack because he's a huge individual rushing the passer, and then Calvin Anderson was able to finish him off there. And then obviously Russell Wilson had to scramble out to the right a little bit to make sure he didn't get sacked there. And Jerry Jeudy had a route run that was a deep route, and he saw that Russell Wilson was in trouble, was able to come back, and Russell Wilson was able to hit him on a beautiful pass. Now, one of the things I would like to see here is some of the other receivers, KJ Hamler in particular, running a route. He was kind of coming back to the quarterback. He was double teamed. I would have liked to see him split that double team and go deeper over towards Russell Wilson's side, to the right side of the field. But I think they'll get that. As they look at film, they'll get those little nuances down. But just a great play by Russell Wilson being aware, and Jerry Jeudy being aware too, to come back to the ball.
Playing through the whistle, not to the whistle, right? You know, that's what we all were wondering about this Broncos offense when we got Russell Wilson. Were these guys going to be able to extend plays? We know Russell Wilson's biggest asset is his ability to escape pressure and now extend plays. And on this play particularly, what you see Jerry Jeudy is he's playing through the whistle. He's getting open. He's doing that scramble drill. It's no, hey, I ran my route and slow down. It's almost like a fluent transition where it's an elongated route where he just keeps on going. And that's why you're able to have success. Steve already pointed out, you know, you put Greg Dulcich in there, the outside linebacker killer, and he's out there tripping Khalil Mack, right, and helping you out and looking to help out a guy like Calvin Anderson, who was getting his first start at the left tackle position. But just being able to get a hand on him, Russell Wilson's able to extend the play because of that. And that's what we need more of. Playing through the whistle and not just to the whistle. If I was on this offense with a quarterback like Russell Wilson, it's not like Peyton Manning where you could have that internal clock. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3, okay, the ball is gone. With Russell Wilson, I'd be thinking, hey, I got to block my butt off for 5 seconds each and every play, or if I'm a wide receiver, I got to run for 5 seconds hard each and every play because this guy could make some things happen, and he's special when he's running with the football in his hands.
Yeah, and be ready to break it off and be able to, you know, if you have a deeper route call, if you see him scrambling, you may have to come back, and if you have a shorter route call, you may have to go deep to find the open space, and guess what? Russell Wilson's going to find you a lot of times.
Well, now as we turn our attentions to the New York Jets, this Breece Hall touchdown in the fourth quarter was not supposed to play out like this. This play was supposed to be a double reverse, but Hall improvised and took this one to the house. So I think it's safe to say that this unplanned play might actually be in the playbook this week. What happened here, and what does this say about Breece Hall?
Yeah, well, first off, every time there's a motion, somebody on the defense is going to get confused. And maybe even somebody on the offense may get confused as well. The trips right call, Breece Hall was right there in the up back position there, and Michael Carter was at the running back position. They did like a little toss play, like they're going to toss it to Michael Carter, and they came around and just handed it off to Breece Hall. And then you see that defensive lineman who was on the left side of the offense, he had to get hard on the inside of that tackle to make sure that he got in his gap just in case there was a cutback from the toss play from the other side. But guess what? That wasn't the play. He handed it off to Breece Hall right up the middle, and Breece Hall made a very nice run. He's a nice-sized running back. Again, he reminds me of Javonte Williams a little bit just in terms of his ability to find the hole and run extremely hard.
There's not much that I can add right there. Steve did such a great job breaking down that play, but I'm going to tell you how you stop it. You crowd the line of scrimmage.
Yep.
You don't let Breece Hall get going. You know, usually ever, that's the task. Make Zach Wilson beat you with his right arm.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
Going into this game, I'm putting 8 people in the box as much as possible. I'm telling the whole entire defense, hey, think run before anything. Cornerbacks, Pat Surtain, let's strap it up, right? Let's go man-to-man coverage. Let's jam guys. Damari Mathis, right? We know that if they get opportunities, they're going to try to go to your way. How about you get up in the face of one of these wide receivers and not let them off the line of scrimmage? And we blitz and we blitz and we blitz some more, because I really believe that this is the game that our defense could really have an effect on this game. And I'm talking touchdowns, not just turnovers, guys.
Hey, that's their mentality as well.
I like that. Well, I know that Breece Hall and really their entire running game will be a force to be reckoned with on Sunday. But still ahead here on Broncos Weekend, some of the other key matchups to keep an eye on at Empower Field at Mile High. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back for this final segment of Broncos Weekend as Steve Atwater and Big O outline what to watch for Sunday between the Broncos and Jets. First, let's start with the Jets' aerial attack up against the Broncos' pass defense. We've seen Zach Wilson has a couple of reliable pass catchers in Corey Davis and Garrett Wilson. Guys, what makes these guys such a big threat for this Broncos secondary?
Well, starting with Corey Davis, he's a big body guy, kind of like Cortland Sutton. He's 6'3", 210 pounds. He's a 50-50 ball guy. He likes catching those deep passes. I wouldn't say he has great hands. He has really good hands. Former first-round pick of the Tennessee Titans. Very good player, especially after he catches the ball. He's good with running after the catch. He's not a guy who runs every route in the route book good, in the playbook good, but he's very dangerous down the field. So yeah, we probably had to have Pastor Tan on him because I believe Garrett Wilson, we can handle him with Damari Mathis.
You know, AP, you said it in your question when you were asking it to us. What makes them so reliable? It's the fact that they have been reliable to Zach Wilson. You know, there's been drops that have came in the running back room for the Broncos, the tight end room, the wide receiver room. When you look at Corey Davis and Garrett Wilson, they have been a reliable person week in, week out. Drives, from series, from first half to second half. They have been very reliable for their young quarterback that has came off an injury. And when you could have two receivers to go out there that are going to play 75% of the time, and you keep on building that quarterback's confidence and knowing those guys had to learn from Joe Flacco as well. You know, Joe Flacco kind of kept that seat warm for Zach Wilson also. But it's the fact that each and every week when they have went out there, they've made the catches that they're supposed to make. They're not dropping a ton of balls, so they're making a guy like Zach Wilson, who hasn't played a lot of football, making him feel very comfortable in the pocket, especially when he's trying to step into a pass to deliver it to one of these guys.
Well, on the flip side, Sauce Gardner, one of the best young rookie corners in the game, coming to town this weekend. Cortland Sutton, we saw him have great success up against another star rookie corner, Derek Stingley Jr., week 2. So do you guys think the Broncos could attack this matchup in a similar way as they did week 2?
Yeah, I think so. But man, I think it's going to be a fun matchup too, because Sauce Gardner, he's a fun guy to watch. Not only is he an excellent cornerback, but he's also just an entertaining guy when he's on the field. There's going to be a little bit of flash out there, but obviously we're hoping that Cortland Sutton is going to show him that, hey man, you're a young guy, you're a rookie, and I'm going to show you as a vet how we do things. But I think it's going to be a great matchup. I don't know who's going to win it, because Sauce Gardner, he can run deep with the big guys. He can play the intermediate and short routes well as well. So I think it's going to be a good matchup.
Yeah, this team is young and confident.
Yes.
Well, since Steve doesn't want to say it, I'm going to say it. Sauce Gardner, prepared to be sauced up. I'm ready. Cortland Sutton's coming for you.
All right.
Cortland had a bad game. The whole world was watching this past Monday night, and he did not get a lot of opportunities. Broncos lost, so look for Nathaniel Hackett to want to get Cortland Sutton involved in this game plan early. This guy's young. He's a rookie, and he has showed you that he has confidence, and if his team does go in there and win the ball game, you seen him last week with a little cheesehead, right?
Yeah, we can't.
Disrespectful.
The disrespect, right? So if you're Cortland Sutton, you're thinking about things like that. This is Bronco country. You don't let no little young buck come in here and disrespect you. So, Sauce, just be prepared to be sauced.
Ooh, there we go.
I like it. Well, we talked earlier about the Jets' ground game. As for the Broncos' running game up against that stout defensive front like we had talked about earlier, we learned on Wednesday that Melvin Gordon will get the start in this game. And he also said in an interview in the locker room earlier this week that he really wants to change the narrative about the player that he is. How does he take the first step in doing that this week?
You know, Melvin's a great player. I was a locker room teammate of Melvin's. I watched him come into this league, and for whatever reason, Melvin did not understand in his mind that he had to have had better body language on the sideline this past week. You played 8 years in the National Football League, and it's been on both of these teams. Of course, the camera crew is going to follow you around. When you were with the Chargers, they brought in Austin Eckler, undrafted guy. Ultimately, they decided to move on from you. Of course, they were going to follow you around.
Yeah.
It's okay to be frustrated, Melvin. You're a football player. I would be upset and would have real questions about your character if you weren't upset about this situation. But at the same time, there's a time and place for everything. Melvin showed his frustration on the sideline, and it wasn't, oh my goodness, like my teammate just got a first down and he was discouraged.
Right.
I believe it was more, oh my goodness, we just ran the football in that situation, and when I'm in there, we typically go to a pass in a situation like that. And going into this week's game, I really believe that this is the best decision for the Denver Broncos, and I really believe that Nathaniel Hackett is showing you that he's not looking to punish no individual or have hard feelings or anything like that, because when I cut on the film and watched the Jets defense play against Green Bay and what they were able to do against Aaron Rodgers that knows what you're doing defensively before you do it, I want Melvin Gordon in there to be able to pick up the blitz, because we saw the Broncos, how hard they struggled in the second half being able to do that. This is a guy that had to protect Phillip Rivers for many, many years and did a really good job doing it, and did it at a high level, and was willing to throw his body in there and die a slow death, whether he had to block a linebacker, a corner, a safety, or a defensive lineman. So I do believe it's the right decision to have Melvin Gordon back there this week, because Melvin gives you the best opportunity to be able to give Russ the opportunity to let him cook and let him throw the ball down the field.
Yeah, and I think also just from the confidence standpoint, you still got to know that he's a great running back, regardless of how many snaps you get. Whenever they put you in there, you got the ability to go the distance, and you got to believe that.
Yeah.
Have that demeanor, have that confidence all the time, and he's going to come in and do a great job.
Well, defensive tackle Quinnen Williams, he is going to try to make his life very difficult, as well as Russell Wilson's, of course, this week. So what kind of challenges, you kind of hinted at this earlier, Big O, that he presents for this offensive line this week?
I'm happy that I'm retired, AP. When I look at Quinnen Williams. I know.
He's blowing plays up.
He wouldn't be lined up over you anyway.
Well, no, if I was playing left guard, yeah, he would be.
Yeah.
That's a long day. But when I'm watching Quinnen Williams, and he has such a baby face. Like, you look at him, it's like,
Looks so kind.
he
And
looks
he's so mean.
kind, and like, he's just tossing guys left, right, and center. But that's a grown man in the middle of that defense.
Yeah.
And he is quick, fast, and explosive. Reminds me a lot of Tommy Kelly. Quick story. Tommy Kelly, Raiders, Tommy Kelly. Tommy Kelly did a push-up with me on his back. Like, literally, I was on top of him, and he did a push-up. I was 330
I was going to say, this
pounds.
wasn't little O.
Yeah, no. This is big
O.
big O. Like, I was probably like 330 my rookie year.
Ooh.
Did a push-up. Just absolutely strong human being. When I look at Quinnen Williams, it cannot be about soloing guys up. No, you got to pay attention to the problems. There's a reason why he has 5 sacks. As an interior defensive lineman, there's only been 6 games. I mean, if he continues to trend this way, he's going to have, 17 sacks on the year?
He'll have a ton of sacks.
That's absolutely ridiculous at that position. So how do you stop it? More full slide protections, more double teams between Lloyd Cushenberry and Dalton Reisner, or Lloyd Cushenberry and Quinton Miners, where you're saying, hey, you know what? Tackles, we're going to get you some chip help from the running backs or tight ends, but you're not going to have that inside help that you normally have when we go to our full slide protections, because we're going to sit on this big human being and make sure he doesn't wreck the game.
Yeah, and he's strong using his arms. He's just throwing guys left to get out of my way. But I would say also on the offensive line, making sure that we're nice and low, because the higher we get, the easier it is for defensive linemen, especially somebody of Quinnen Williams' stature and how big and strong he is. You got to make sure that you stay low, get your hands up in there, and just fight.
Yeah, get a nice 3-step drop in early too, so offensive linemen get an opportunity to cut him to show that, hey, I have this in my toolbox, so you better slow down, big fella.
Well, the Broncos, they need to make a plethora of adjustments to really climb out of the league's basement. What can they do this week in order to secure a victory over the Jets?
Well, first off, we don't know if Russell Wilson is going to be playing or not. But regardless of if he plays or not, I think that offensive line is going to have to play stellar, especially going up against Quinnen Williams, Sheldon Rankins, Quincy Williams. They got the 2 Qs.
I know, isn't that confusing?
They're going to have to play a stellar game, the offensive line is. And defense got to continue to do what they do. And I also think, again, back to the penalties, we got to have 4 or fewer penalties. We can't have 5, 6, 7, 8 penalties.
You say that every week.
And every week we come back and have to say it again. Right?
Have to say it.
Each and every week. Go under center. Give this offensive line an opportunity to go downhill. When you go in shotgun, especially, I don't know if you guys have checked out the film, watch Dalton Reisner. Anytime the Broncos are on the road, he looks back at Russ gives him the foot, Dalton Reisner gets set, gives it a hand, and then Lloyd Cushenberry, quick head bob, and the ball is snapped. You're allowing defenses to tee off on you. You're allowing defenses to know that, hey, it's probably about 80% chance of a pass right now. So linebackers are taking steps back, where now you're covering up every other guy. You have to be able to go under center, because now the play action game gets involved, because you've been going under center and running the football. Now you have all your bootlegs up. You have all your nakeds up as well. You're able to move the pocket and get Russell to throw the ball on the run. It all starts with lining up under center and being able to have that communication. And oh, by the way, when you do play away and you're under center, you could use the snap count as well. You don't go to this, head bob thing where you let people tee off. So I really believe it's all about going under center first and foremost. But like we said earlier in the show as well, let Russell disperse the ball. Call it up for everybody, not just say, hey, let's design it for the wide receivers. It's got to be a wide receiver this play, and now we're throwing to a running back on the next play. And now we're coming with the tight ends as well. And that's how you keep defenses on their heels, but also that's where Russell Wilson goes 10 for 10 in the first quarter last week.
Or Brett Rippon this week.
or Brett Rippon. I mean, I really believe, I got a little bit of a theory behind that, right? If I'm Nathaniel Hackett, right, and obviously, you as a first-time head coach, you want to kind of defer to your star quarterback. Russell Wilson has played a lot of football. The Broncos gave up a lot to get him here. And, Russ has had a lot of success many different ways in the National Football League. But Nathaniel Hackett, there's a little bit of overthinking as well, especially when I watch Russell Wilson miss wide-open guys. I truly believe that there's been too much on the playbook right now. So let's scale it back a little bit. And if it is Brett Rippon, I anticipate that it would be very much scaled back, but also Nathaniel Hackett would just be calling it how he sees it and really sticking to a game plan, because it's no longer what would Russ want to do in a situation like this if it's 3rd and 4 or 3rd and 1 or anything like that. It would really be like, hey, here's the game plan. We're going to stick to it for all 60 minutes.
Well, that'll do it for our Week 7 installment of Broncos Weekend, everyone. We look forward to seeing you Sunday at Empower Field at Mile High, and then right back here Tuesday evening for a full game recap on Broncos A to Z. For Steve Atwater and Orlando Franklin, I'm Alexis Perry. Thanks so much for watching.